American cult, as in our veneration, worship, and devotion toward a particular person, belief, movement, idea, or even a potato, damn it. And yeah, believe it or not, cults are an American thing, and that's because, while cults exist all over the world, here in America, because of our tolerance for other religions and beliefs, cults often get out of hand at times. Now, I need to step aside here for a minute and let you know that if you Google just about anything with the word cult in it, there's a lot of shit about religion that comes up, mostly about Christianity. And the fact that cults and religion are tied together at the hips kind of surprised me because I wasn't thinking of cults as being necessarily religious or spiritual. But hey, I like learning new shit, and so should you. Because that's how we grow as people, even though my growing season is slowed down by quite a bit. With that said, let's look at the history of cults here in our great nation. Now, almost all the first cults in America were religious cults. In fact, while the Pilgrims were not a cult, they did share a lot of the same characteristics as a cult. And even later on in our history, Mormons and Seventh-day Adventists were called cults. Yeah, I know, there are still people around that still think they are cults. And in today's fast-moving modern world, the word cult brings up nothing but negative connotations. You know, Waco, the Manson family, Heaven's Gate, and of course, Jim Jones. So maybe this time I opened up a dictionary or two and actually define exactly what a cult is. According to AI, a cult has to do with a religious group, a group that has weird beliefs or unusual practices, and is led by some charismatic character. AI also throws in that there might be a lot of manipulation and control going on over the members as key characteristics of any cult. The dictionary puts it a bit more sublime, saying that a cult is a system of religious veneration or devotion directed toward a particular person or object, but not a potato. The bottom line for me is I think we all have a general understanding of what we think cults are, and none of us want anything much to do with them. Except maybe we do, because at the moment there are over 10,000 cults in operation right here in the States. And of course, that number doesn't worry you, because, well, you're probably in a cult. And maybe it's time in this video to look at how cults have shaped American history. Now, I understand we just talked about our definition of cults, but when it comes to the history of cults, know that up till about the year 1900, people used the word cult simply in reference to religious veneration. Around the arrival of the 20th century, though, newspapers started using the word differently to refer to religious movements outside the Christian mainstream, and the leaders of such cults were often portrayed as evil and villainous. In the 20th century did bring us Charles Manson and his family, along with Jim Jones and the People's Temple. And we can't forget about David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. And then there is, of course, Marshall Applewhite and Heaven's Gate. And for what it's worth, try finding mass suicides that occurred in America before the 20th century. There's just nothing there. There's either no records or it just never happened. And I just think that's interesting as fuck, don't you think? But none of that means that cults played no part in shaping America, because we got talked about those early American cults that while maybe they didn't kill off their members, they did have some influence in American history. One of the first recognized cults in America were the Shakers. And yeah, whether you call them a cult or not depends on how you define what a cult is. But hey, they fit my definition, so I'm including them as one of America's first cults. And the Shakers arrived on the shores of America in the year of our Lord, 1774, looking for the freedom to live, work, and worship according to their beliefs. And a lot of their beliefs differed from mainstream Christianity. Shakers were all pacifists. They valued education and innovation. They believed in racial and gender equality. And most of all, they enjoyed a communal living arrangement. And all the resources were shared. Kind of like a hippie commune. And yeah, while their numbers have declined, there is actually still one Shaker community that's active. But the Shakers are not the only early American cult. We have the Public Universal Friend, the Oneida Perfectionists, and of course, the Brotherhood of New Life. All early American cults, along with the Mormons. And again, that depends on how you want to define your definition of what a cult is. And now, if any of you out there want to join a cult, there is always one that I would recommend, and that's my cult, the Cult of Rob, a cult where we all just live happily ever after. Cults, American cults. You know what my first experience with a cult was? That happened when I was really young. My parents called hippies cults. Man, they very well might be, you know. If you compare them to what, you know, to the Shakers. You know, and it all everything in our life comes down to how we define something. Whether it's the food we eat or if this group of people is a cult. You know, it's all in the definition. And a lot of that definition does come from the behavior. Not only the cult, but also the person doing the definition. A lot plays into how he views a group of people that he's uncomfortable around. If a person is uncomfortable around a lot of people, or if they're doing something that's different religiously than what they're used to, chances are you're going to call them a cult. So, you know what? It's word games. But one thing that I did find interesting is that you know, I couldn't find no evidence of any mass suicides before the 20th century. I don't know if it was just not reported or what, but just one of those interesting things. Anyways, that said, you know, yeah, I realize that this video, I mean, it's only 5 minutes long, so like this after vlog, I'm all over the place. You can only do so much. But I hope I at least gave you an idea that how we define cults or a group of people is different now than it was, say, 100 years ago. That's true. And yeah, I'm just repeating shit I said in the video, so maybe it's time for me to go. Here's a shot. Patron. Day after the 4th. Oh, that went down better than the last one. Peace out. And if you want to join a cult, mine is always available. So like, subscribe, and share with your friends, damn it. 'Cause I am out of here.